Hi everyone, it's Elisa DiLorenzo with One Extraordinary Marriage, and I just want to share with you some insights that I had. Last night Tony and I were at an event, and the speaker mentioned Isaiah 6:8. And in Isaiah 6:8, Isaiah says, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord say, 'Whom shall I send?' And I replied, 'Here I am, send me.'" And in that moment, as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about all of the opportunities that we have in our marriage to step up and be the one that says, "Here I am, send me," or really use me. There are so many instances in our marriage, and I know that I've been guilty of this more than once, where I cry out to God and I'm like, "God, fix this," or "Fix Tony," or "Change this situation." And really God's saying to me in that moment when I think I'm not hearing him, really I think what God is saying is, whom shall I send? Who's going to be the one to make the miracle happen? Who's going to be the one to make change happen? And in that moment, as I was listening to that verse last night and then reading through the beginning of Isaiah this morning, I realized that in those moments, in those times when I want a miracle to happen, I need to raise my hand and say, "Here I am, send me." God, use me to make a difference in my marriage. Use me to see what needs to be done. Use me to speak loving words to my spouse. Use me to change what's going on. I think so often we get in this place where we just sit back and we sit back and we're just waiting for God to, sprinkle fairy dust. And, God's got his magic wand and he's going to make it all better. And the truth is that yes, God can do anything. But sometimes, and I think more often than not, God needs us to get involved in our own miracles. God needs us to step up and be a factor in our lives. God needs us to step up, not needs us to, but wants us to change what's going on, right? Because when we just sit back and say, "You know what," cross our arms and say, "God, you make it happen." And we just wait. And we wait and we wait. And in our marriages, what happens when we wait, a lot of you know that when you wait for something in your marriage, you can wait a really, really long time. I will tell you, there have been times when I've waited for Tony to do something and it doesn't happen for a lot of different reasons. And yet when I want something to happen, if I just step up and make it happen, guess what? It gets done. And a lot of times too, what I've noticed when I'm the one that steps up and I say, "You know what, I'm gonna be the change. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take action in this area of our marriage," Tony totally comes on board. Do you know why? Because I stepped up. And both of you in your marriage will have those times when you take turns stepping up. Sometimes I'm really, worn out and tired and overwhelmed, and Tony comes right beside me and says, "Here I am. Send me, God. Use me to be the rock that Elisa needs." And there are times when Tony is doing so much for our family, and he's exhausted, and he's just got so much on his plate. And that's my opportunity to say, "You know what? Here I am, God. Use me. Send me to be the one to take action in our marriage." So, it's Friday afternoon, heading into Friday evening for a lot of you. And as you look at this weekend ahead of you, I want you to look for opportunities where you can say, "You know what? God, send me." Absolutely, you got to be teammates. And it's a give and take, his and her many. Thank you for sharing that in the comments there, because you can't do it all by yourself. But you also can't wait for everything else to happen to you. God did not give us these amazing bodies and the brains in our head and our eyes and our mouths and our ears so that we could sit back and just be passive in this life. Why would God have a creation that doesn't do anything? You've got all of these amazing gifts. You need to use them. You need to use them to strengthen your marriage. You need to say, "You know what? I'm not going to be passive anymore. I am going to be an active participant in my marriage," because God wants us to be active. He wants us to take part in our lives. Because when we take part in our lives, guess what? You take part in God's plan for your life. You take part in God's plan for your marriage. And you create that extraordinary relationship that God has designed for you. And it's such a powerful thing that I was going to wait and do this next week. And I'm sitting there in my journal and I just need to hop on Periscope and just share this with everyone. So I want to thank you all for just hopping on this God Moments for me. I want to thank you for the comments. For those of you that have struggled with being the one to take action first, I'm going to challenge you this weekend to maybe not to maybe, I'm going to challenge you. When an opportunity presents itself, just think in your head, you know what, God, send me. Send me. I'm here. I'm willing to be present. I'm willing to take the action. And I'm guessing, in fact, I would even bet money on it, that by the end of the weekend, if you choose to do that, if you look for those opportunities and you take those opportunities, that by the end of the weekend, your marriage is going to look incredible. It's going to look one step better, 2 steps better. For some of you, whatever you decide to do is going to be so big that it's going to be a lot better. But today, right before this weekend starts, just say that prayer. Here I am, God. Send me. And Anthony Parisi, you are so welcome. I'm taking the challenge. Miss Maisha Smith, so glad to hear that. I wonder if anybody else that's listening is thinking of taking that challenge this weekend too, because it makes a difference. You know, Tony and I talk a lot about action in One Extraordinary Marriage and through the podcast and through everything that we do. And when you take action in your marriage, when you get into that role of send me, God, that's when the magic starts to happen. And we want you to have extraordinary relationships. God designed you. Tessa, she will take that challenge too. Awesome. There are going to be some fun stories coming out of this weekend, and I hope that the next time that Tony and I get on Periscope, whether we're doing an Ask Tony and Elisa, or we're doing another one of these God moments, that some of you will hop on and just share the impact that this challenge had. So have a great weekend, and we love you guys.